What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. Joe, how you doing?
Hi.
Hi. One of the last recordings you got in Bahrain. You sad?
Yes. No, not at all. This this
True,
internet
but not
is
sad.
this internet belongs in the 90s.
Yeah, when I lived in North Carolina, Joe's probably the only one who knows, but we didn't check internet before we moved into this mountain home, and it was like 5 megabytes per second, and I was running a digital business. It was just really bad, really bad combination of things.
Yeah.
All right, well, we can get into garage gym athlete problems. Our segment this week is about blocks. Specifically, the problem this athlete says they're having is staying within the 10-minute blocks and trying to finish all the reps and exercises. So let me explain what blocks are. The athletes who've been following our programming for a while definitely know what they are. Newer athletes might not even know, like, why do you write blocks in your programming? And then people who aren't a part of our training at all have no idea what I'm talking about. So this originated back in the day, shortly after we started. So we started Garage Gym Athlete, and I was getting a lot of I can't fit this into an hour, and that was like one of the big selling points we had was like, you don't need to spend 2 hours training. I was getting that feedback a lot many years ago, and so but at that point in time, I was testing all the programming before, along with like some other people, before it would go to the community, because we only had one track, and I was just staying ahead of people. And so I would test everything, and what I knew for me and the couple other athletes who were doing it was it definitely fit in an hour. Like, it definitely fit in an hour. So I was like confused, and people were like, this is taking me an hour and a half. This is taking me 2 hours. I'm like, what are you doing? And so then I formulated this block system. So what we have in Garage Gym Athlete programming are 10-minute blocks. We program every single day in 5 10-minute blocks. And so that's 50 minutes worth of programming. And then the reason we round up to 60, we have one block we call the invisible block. And this is where you're allowed to make your mistakes, rest a little bit too long, take too much time transitioning between exercises or blocks. Maybe you checked your phone. Maybe you had to have an Instagram proof post that you lifted weights today. Whatever it is, you have that in there, but it will get used almost no matter what. It's going to get used until you become incredibly efficient. So that's how our training fits into an hour. So every time we program something, we have to ask ourselves, will this fit into a block? Will it or will it not fit into a block? And how many blocks will it fit into? Because if it's going to take too many blocks, we can't program it. We have to program it a different way. And so we're very adamant about the timing in our programming. And so staying within the 10-minute blocks is big to the community, because a lot of people don't want to train twice a day or 2 hours a day or whatever. And we want to make sure that that gets done. And you only ever train for 1 hour or less per day, and that training is incredibly efficient and effective. But we do get this still. Some people are like, I get it. I understand the 10-minute block system, but I can't fit what you've programmed into that 10 minutes. Like, what can I do? And that's what we're tackling today. So I'm going to throw it to you, Joe, to start off. How can we help athletes stay in this 10-minute block to be more efficient with their daily training?
So the first one I'm going to kick it off saying is going to be tactical in sense of equipment wise. So if you are using barbell for the strength portion, you know that's going to be first. Or you see a barbell movements, I always look at see if there's barbell movements down the road, down later on in the program, and I will keep or have those weights handy so that when I transition to the next thing that might have a barbell, I already know that I'm swapping weights, whether it's adding more, taking one off, it's switching, 45 for 25, something like that, because I've already looked ahead. So having the plates and having those things by you at first are gonna save time, because then also you're not like thinking about the weights you might be doing, or having to go in your phone, pull up the app, get distracted with anything else on your phone. So having those, looking ahead on the workout, seeing what you're going to need at first, 100%, and then like even like kettlebell. So I might build in something with the kettlebell in the warm up if I know there's a kettlebell in the workout, because it's like, okay, this is the kettlebell I'm going to use anyway. Let's just grab it right now and have it out and ready. Boxes, anything like that, and it can really help some people with crowded garages. That I've seen some of these in the garage gym tours videos that we have. Go check those out if you haven't already. People organize their garages like so particular and like Tetris style to where, okay, everything has its place and fits there, but is it easily accessible? So like in the
Hmm.
middle of workout, are you going like, oh, cool, I need my plyo box now. Well, it's under three coolers and the kids' bikes are in front of it. And there's also this other thing, Christmas decorations all around it. So maybe I need to move all that stuff out there first. So that's just another thing of like, can you access what you need quick enough as you're going? Maybe even do it really, really fast, and that can be part of your warm up, something like that. So tactically, having the equipment ready to go so that when you go on to the next transition, it's like, okay, now I'm just going to prepare and do this next section of the workout and continue from there.
I think that's a really good point. I know this happened to me recently. A couple months ago, I bought a hex bar for deadlifts. And if you're not familiar with the hex bar, it's a monstrosity. Like the thing is like, it's huge and it's heavy. It's heavier than a barbell. Storage is like really awkward because most of my wall space is taken up in my garage. And so what I had done was like I put the hex bar like kind of behind my bikes. My bikes hang on a wall in a rack, but it's a pain in the ass to get out. Okay. It was like just a pain in the ass. And so I realized that anytime deadlifts were coming up, because I wanted to start throwing in hex bar occasionally, I just wasn't doing that. I would go back to standard barbell lifts. I'm like, I'm not using that thing at all. And the only reason I'm not using it is because it was somewhat hard to access. And so if you are running into that problem, I was just avoiding doing the work. But like if you're doing what Joe says, yeah, that's one way that you can speed up a lot. Have everything ready before you get started. I think that's great. I'm gonna say pay attention to your rest times. I think that's a big one. We normally it's not going to be 100% on this, but normally in the program we'll mention a rest time or either have it programmed in there. This can get carried away on strength because if you're just kind of left on your own with no guidance on strength sets in general, you might rest a little bit longer than we had programmed. So you need to start thinking about that when you look at the workout itself. Be like, okay, I have 4 sets here. Yeah, they're 75, 80%, but I only have one block for this. And so start kind of doing that math in your head. If you're doing 4 sets, each one of those is a couple reps, but it's heavy. The sets aren't going to take you more than, let's say, 30 seconds per set. And now how much time is left over? If we have 2 minutes worth of real work, but there's only 8 minutes left in that block. So how much can I rest in between? And you don't have to be like this mathematician to figure that kind of stuff out. And that's why we normally mention it for you in the athlete brief. But it's just like if you're resting 3 to 4 minutes per set there, that's going to be pretty obvious that you won't fit it in there. And so you just have to start thinking about your rest times. And in our training, typically, rule of thumb here, you can't rest a long time. Like very rarely will we have 6 minutes rest unless it's some very specific energy system training. We're not going to have these really long rest periods. And there's not supposed to be any rest between blocks. Like moving from if we just had 5 actual blocks from block 1 to block 2, there's not like a gap like, okay, good, that block's over, let's rest 5 minutes for the next block. No, you need to. That's why the invisible block is there. All you should be doing between block 1 and block 2 is setting up, like Joe's talking about, the equipment for the next block, whatever that may be. And you set it up, maybe that takes 45 seconds, and now you're in the next block of training. So our training is kind of fast paced. You can't rest a lot. You need to be constantly moving through it. But once you become accustomed to it, you're going to start finishing our workouts in 45 minutes, 55 minutes. You're going to get all this work done, way more work than most people are doing in an average training session, and you're going to be better for it. So pay attention to your rest times and really think about those when you're looking at the training.
Yeah, and if you like really need all of that laid out rest times and like that regimented, Marco, shout out to his programming on Endure. He has pretty much everything regimented built out. You might not like it because he packs a lot into his blocks. Like you might have a superset with 4 sets and only 60 seconds of rest in between those, but they're marked out and it's exactly enough time to get it done.
Yeah, you'll
On
never say it's impossible to get all this done because he's like worked it out mathematically to where you're not allowed to say that.
yeah, exactly. Strength, I don't put on the actual strength and lift and accessory work as much rest time. I don't like regiment rest time there. It is much more self-guided, but 2 minutes is about what I figure what you're going to rest, because even now I as I get done sets, after 2 minutes, I sometimes even earlier, I'm ready to go. Right when I get done my set, I look at my watch and I note the time and I go, okay, 2 minutes from now is whatever the time is now plus 2 minutes. That's when I need to go be starting my next set. And if you're somebody that has like the plyo box near and you're sitting down or doing something between sets, just know that you're gonna time's gonna get away from you really easy if you do anything in between sets that you don't absolutely need to. So like looking at your phone or anything, like if you need to look at your phone, you should do that in between your blocks for like setup purposes, not anything else, because you've already started this block. You should already be ready for that block once you start it. So yeah, rest times can definitely get away from you. And I try and go, using my early on rest periods, I might take a little bit longer just because I don't want to overdo it early. But as I go further along, I might actually speed up and lessen my rest periods because I know like, okay, this is my last set anyway. I can do this set, but I'm done after this set anyway, and I can just move on to the next thing.
And then I would say another thing is just going back to looking at it and kind of assessing, okay, how much can I rest? But then also assessing your fitness level, because sometimes it's not as clear cut. I will give a work-based like amount you need to finish and then time cap it with blocks. So an example of that would be like run 3 miles for time. But then I'll give you a time block of 3 blocks. And so I've given you 30 minutes to run 3 miles. So we're averaging a 10-minute mile pace here. So right off the bat, you should know either A, I'm an athlete who can and absolutely will finish 3 miles in under 30 minutes, or B, I am not an athlete who will finish 3 miles in 30 minutes. There's no possible way. So if you know that going in, don't, like if you're athlete B in this scenario, don't run 1.5 miles out. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, this is going to take me 40 minutes to do, don't run 20 minutes out and then 20 minutes back and be like, well, I didn't fit in the block. Then what's more important in that case, when I program stuff like that, what's way more important is the time capping of the block, not finishing the work. And so if I say 3 blocks, you have 30 minutes. So for you, you just need to kind of look at that differently. I'm really asking you to run for 30 continuous minutes. That's what I want you to do. So that would be not paying attention to the work I've given, but paying attention to the time. So in that case, if I was athlete B, I would run 15 minutes out. I'd run 15 minutes back. To be honest, with how most people run, it should be more like 12 minutes out and then coming back, because you're going to be more fatigued on the way back. If you really want to get into the weeds with it. So anyway, that's another thing you need to look at. Make sure you're time capping yourself, because that's always our answer, right? Like ultimately you should time cap yourself and move on, but I understand you want to finish the work. But that comes with time as well. So if you are constantly running into these, I can't finish 3 miles in 3 blocks, or I can't do that, just keep time capping yourself. Stay consistent with the training. Keep time capping yourself over and over and over again. And then what you'll realize 3 or 4 months down the road, you're starting to make the time caps and you're starting to finish the work in the allotted blocks we have programmed. And it's not going to take very long. And then once you do that, you realize you're getting fitter. You're going to be able to fit our training in very easily. And then things become a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. It's a growing process, especially in the beginning, but you will definitely adjust pretty quickly.
All right. You got anything else on blocks?
No.
All right. Stay efficient. If you are, not a part of our training and you want to experience this efficiency, go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a free trial for our athletes suffering from the I can't fit it in the block problem. Hopefully we've given you some tips or tricks that you can implement in your training starting today. And if you have any problems that you want to submit to us, go do that. Just go to garagegymathlete.com. You can see, contact us, or the little bubble we have on the website. Just say, hey, I have this problem, and we're going to do an episode on it on the podcast and on YouTube. So if you're on the podcast, thank you so much for listening. If you could subscribe, if you just landed on this episode somehow. And then for those of you who are already subscribed and everything, 5-star review, positive comment, all the YouTube watchers, whatever it's called, subscribers, you can go ahead and give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let us know how we're doing, what other content you'd love to see, and subscribe to this channel as well. We would really appreciate it. But that's all we got for this one. So thanks for watching or listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.